Hello, I'm Danny Gregory, and I'm here to share some cool stuff with you. You might be able to hear a sort of slight whining, moaning sound. That is coming from this guy, Tim. Tim has a stomach ache. He was up all night long, and so were we as a result. But I don't know. He seems to be emptied out now. You know, he's clean, but he's still not very happy. His tummy is still bugging him. So anyway, so you might hear him from time to time. Yes, he's kind of wet because I had to wash him a bit because of some of the shall we say, side effects of having a stomach ache. But anyway, yeah. So as a result, I was up most of the night, and I'm feeling a little under the weather today, but I did get up this morning, and I wanted to show you. I just did a quick drawing on my balcony. Nothing terribly exciting, but I just... So, yeah, so that was my first crude half-asleep drawing. But I have been thinking a lot about next Monday. Next Monday is, of course, going to be the launch day of our new class, Imagining. And, we've been really looking forward to this. We're looking forward to all of our new teachers who we've brought forth. And one of them is Marloes de Vries, who is a Dutch artist, illustrator, etc. I just wanted to show you quickly a couple of her drawings because I think they're really great. So here is her drawing called Artist. And she does a lot of these little cartoons that are kind of just depictions of her life, they're sort of philosophical and interesting, like this one, My Mom at My Age and Me Right Now. And I totally understand that feeling, this idea that your parents were grown-ups, whereas you're still a kid. I still feel that way sometimes. Although sometimes, honestly, I feel that the opposite. My parents are sort of still children. But anyway, that's another story. Here's another drawing by Marloes. I'm just going to go check my email real quick. 2 hours later, just one more cat video. Maybe you're feeling that right now. The tar baby of the internet. Waking up in the middle of the night like, I just got the most brilliant idea ever, I'll write it down. Next morning, lavender zoc magic poo. Yep. And here's one more. I'm not sure if I actually have free time or if I'm just forgetting everything I have to do. So she really understands what it's like to be a creative person, what it's like to be a modern person, what it's like to be a person struggling with one's brain, one's inner critic, and all that stuff, and how easy it is to get sidetracked. So because Marloes is in Holland, we decided to pre-record a chat between the two of us where I was just going to ask her a bit about herself, and that's what I want to share with you next. So if you're ready, let's begin then, and I'll just play this down, and then I'll come back at the end if you have any questions or comments or things you want to discuss, okay? Here we go. And I believe Marloes actually has joined us, so maybe she'll be able to answer some questions. Let's see how that goes. Here we go. To Marloes de Vries, who is in Holland. She is also in our new class, Imagining, and she is a person of great talent and great imagination. So let's talk to her about both of those things. Hi, Marloes.
Hi, Danny.
I'm so glad that you've joined us in this class. I'm a big fan of your, well, essentially they're comics. Do you call them comics, what you make?
Yeah, I always feel a bit weird to call them comics because comics artists, in my opinion, are so amazing, and I feel I'm not there yet. but I call them comics or cartoons or just doodles sometimes.
Well, I'll call them comics because I think what you do with your comics is perhaps a bit different than the word comics would suggest also, because really a lot of what you're doing is you're recording your life and your experiences and your observations in your work. Isn't that true?
Yeah, absolutely. I love recording my feelings and my experience and everything that happens to me on a daily basis. I love to record them in just little doodles or comics or whatever.
And so what was the inspiration for doing that, for using your real life as the inspiration for your work? Were there people who inspired you, or was it something you came up with on your own? How did it work out?
Well, when I was really little, I was really interested in comics and comics artists. And a few years ago, I went through a really rough patch, and I suffered from a depression. And I sort of discovered that by drawing my feelings and drawing my experiences, it helped me clear my mind, and it really helped me in the process of getting better. So that's when it started.
Interesting. Now, what about your imagination? How does that figure into what you're doing? I mean, you're not drawing from life, really, right? So you're kind of making up characters. Is that how you work?
Part of my work is really imaginative and just thought of, so not really experiences, and part of it is. So the character I use for my comics is basically me and my boyfriend and my friends, although I don't really look like it, but it's drawn from my own life. And a lot of things are just made up characters, but everything I draw, even characters that appear in my illustrations, I think I've seen them one time or another in a coffee bar or somewhere else. Everything I do basically is sort of it sort of comes from real life, my own life.
So you're sort of using your imagination to tell the stories of your life in a way. It's like it's art, basically, right? That's what I call art. At least it's taking your experience and using your imagination to turn it into something that's universal that we can all respond to.
Yeah, that's what I love about what I do right now. And again, with art as well, even with comics and art, I call myself an illustrator and writer. And to me, artists are on such a high pedestal for me. Those are the big people. And sometimes I'm really hesitant to call myself an artist. But I do agree with you when you say that artists draw things from their own life and their own experiences. And for me, it's a lot of putting my feelings into pieces of work for others to see. So that's the main thing for me. I mainly do this, and I do illustration and I do art for other people, basically. I couldn't do it without an audience, I think.
Let's get more technical. What are the kinds of tools that you use? What do you draw and paint with?
I love to draw with just regular pencils. I love 2B pencils because they have a little bit more of the graphite in it. So they're a little bit more rough. And I love 6B pencils as well. And right now I'm obsessed with Palomino Blackwing pencils. They are really greasy. So for me, if the more greasy the pencil is, the more I love it. And I use regular sketchbook, nothing too fancy. If I go to an art shop and I just feel the paper a little bit, and if I like the paper, I will most likely buy it. I have a lot of sketchbooks and unused sketchbooks as well. And that's for analog work. But what I also love to do is work digitally. So as of lately, I do more sketching on a computer as well, and I like that too. I like switching between real pencils and between the computer. Oh yeah. I absolutely love watercolors as well, and I bought a set in 2010, I think, and I still have that set, and I love it. But last year I bought a new set by Winsor and Newton, and the pigment is so great in that set, and it's a really cheap set basically, and that's why I'm so obsessed with the pigment in it, because this is just a starter set. It's a Cotman series from Winsor and Newton, and I am tempted to buy new watercolors by Winston and Newton. Winston? I'm confused. Winsor and Newton. Because if the pigments is so good in the starter set, I can't even imagine how good it's going to be in the professional set. So I'm also obsessed with watercolors, as you can tell.
Right. No, I think we all tend to get crazy about the tools that we use and obsess about them, looking for the magic pen or pencil. I like your. I mean, I can tell from your drawings that you're using these soft pencils. They feel like they're very expressive, and they feel like the characters that you're drawing. I think if you drew with something much harder, they wouldn't have quite as much humanity. So it feels like the line quality of what you do is totally appropriate for that, for the kinds of stories that you're telling. I know that Quentin Blake is one of your one of your heroes, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should I tell something about
Yeah, tell us a bit about how you feel about Quentin Blake.
Quentin Blake is one of my all-time heroes. Of course, when I was really little, I started reading Matilda, and I loved Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I immediately saw those drawings, and they got me, and they went straight to my heart. And I loved the squiggly lines and the use of watercolors there. And I immediately looked him up. Who is this person drawing these images in books that I love so much? So I think I must have been around 10 or 11, and I thought, well, I think I want to do that kind of job. I want to be an illustrator. And Quentin Blake has always been one of my favorites because his lines are so expressive, and he uses watercolors in such a great way, so loosely, so easy, and not too hesitant. His lines are not too hesitant, and that's what I absolutely love, and I want to incorporate that in my work as well. Of course, I have a different drawing style and handwriting, but still, if I could be a little bit like Quentin Blake, then yeah, that's one of my life goals.
No, I think you've achieved it because I definitely see the influence, but I also feel like what you do is you. I think drawing with confidence is really important. Having lines that say what you want to say, that takes practice, but it certainly gives you, I think it's interesting to draw with confidence with a pencil because we think of pencils as something you erase. But I think the way that you draw, it's clear that you're not doing a lot of erasing and going back and forth. You just like the line quality that a pencil gives you.
I'm so happy you see that because I don't think a lot of people see that, and I do put a lot of thought in that process by using the pencils, and so it makes me happy that you notice that.
I think that that's always the sign of somebody who has something to say. To me, when somebody has a line that is sort of shivering and shaking, I often feel it's as if they're stuttering when they talk. Whereas if you just say, "This is what I feel, this is what I've seen, this is what I, want to tell you," it should be confident. But it takes a long time to get your voice, and it takes a lot of time. I mean, I feel like that's what you do is simple. I mean, the drawings are simple, but I can tell that it must have taken a lot of work to get there. So I'm glad that you're going to be sharing your story because I don't know how you felt about doing this class with Kosha. Kosha filmed you in making this class, and you told a lot of stories about your life and some of the challenges that you'd had and how you got to where you are, and that was very useful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love doing this with Kosha, and I was so nervous about filming because, of course, I'm the kind of artist that rather stays behind the drawing table and not be on the screen. But what I also love to do is to share what I've experienced, and I always hope that people can learn from what I have learned over the years. And I never feel like I should keep my lessons to myself, if you know what I mean. What I've experienced, I think it can be useful to a lot of people. And also the bad things that I've experienced, I love to share them because then it wasn't for nothing. It has a reason that it has happened to me, and I can share it again with other people, and I hope they can take something out of it. And the whole process of filming the Sketchbook Skool class was really nerve-wracking for me because I'm I'm not that comfortable with a camera in my face, but the whole thought behind it of sharing this with other people is just amazing, and it's really good. So that's why I did it.
Well, despite your fears, I think it came out really, really well. And I think that your story is compelling, your art is beautiful, and your generosity in sharing all of it, I think, is a real gift to the people who are going to take this class. So I'm really excited. I can't wait for people to see your class, and I can't wait to see what they do in response to it, because that's part of what's so interesting about this as well, is who you're going to inspire and where it's going to take them. So thanks very much for doing this. And I can't wait to see you in class. And also, I'm sure people are going to look forward to asking you questions when we do the webinar at the end of your week, as we do with all of our classes. So that will be really fun as well.
I'm so looking forward to what people are going to make. And it's so weird because I give them a few pointers and then they have to do it themselves. And it's so, I think, everybody's going to have their own voice in this. And with my little lessons, and I'm so looking forward to what people are going to make. It's going to be amazing, I think.
Me too. Good. Well, thanks again, Marloes, and we'll see you again very soon once the class starts, which it does in a week.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thank you so much, Danny.
Well, there you have it, Marloes de Vries. It was nice to talk to her. I've actually only talked to her once before, but of course I was watching what Kosha was doing with the class, and I've seen the class, and it's really great. So I wanted to just take this opportunity with you guys, if anybody has any questions about imagining. I know that it's to some extent we've left a bit of the class to your imagination, what's it going to be like. We have new teachers. You may or may not know their work. We're going to continue to share their work through the week so you can see more of it, but we urge you also to go and check out their websites if you'd like. And, I think that it's going to be a different experience than drawing from reality, which is so much of what we have to do, which we have done in the past at Sketchbook Skool. This will be an opportunity to, draw what's inside here, and that can be a bit nerve-wracking. I've seen some people say, oh, really, that's not what I'm interested in, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact is that using your imagination is it's something that isn't just part of drawing. It's part of everything that we do as creative people. And I think when you meet some of these teachers, you will hear their stories and you will be inspired about what it is to live a creative life. I've said that a couple other times in describing this class, but I think it's really important. I mean, I think about Stefan Bucher, who you're going to get a chance to see an interview that Kosha did with him. And when I was filming his class, I really learned an awful lot about how he has arranged his life so that he can be as creative as he wants to be without having to make a lot of compromises, without having to worry about, taking on the wrong kinds of freelance jobs, or how to manage his time, how to do high quality work and yet still be as imaginative, as free as possible, how to find the right kinds of people to collaborate with and work with, how to get new opportunities. I think these are things that, whether you're a creative professional or not, are things that are great to know about. I think understanding how creative people think and work will also just enhance your appreciation of creative matters in general. So I'd really love to know, is there anything specifically that's holding you up, that's concerning you about this class? The fact that it's something different. And those of you who know us and have taken classes with us before know that we try to make things different. We try to do different things at different times to just keep it fresh and interesting to us as well as to everybody else. But this is yet another example of that. Again, perhaps a little less clear-cut than, say, urban sketching or, a drawing a day, but still, I think, incredibly full of potential. Trust me on that. So let me just see what we have. A couple questions here. Yes, liberating. Glaucia? I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that or mangling it, but Glaucia. Yes, I think it will open new doors. I mean, I can tell you honestly that for me, seeing these classes and working with these teachers has made me change, has made me think about the drawing that I do, the stuff that I want to make in a new way. Honestly, I was in a bit of a rut myself in the last couple of months. I hadn't been drawing that much. And now suddenly I really feel my imagination working harder. I feel I'm drawing more. I feel I'm more energized. And I got to say, I think it has something to do with just being around this class and these teachers and working on it. So, I'm hoping that that's going to be the case with others as well, that you will you'll change. I mean, I think I also do. I'm not sure if we've given the misimpression that there won't be drawing in this class, that it's just a bunch of artists sitting around yakking all the time about their lives. No, there's going to be lots of drawing. In fact, there's a couple of assignments that are going to really be quite demanding and are really going to force you to stretch and do some serious work. And I think it's time to get down to that. So Rabia, I'm glad that you've registered. I'm glad that you've signed up. I hope that this will give you a bit more to chew on and to think about. Maybe check out Marloes's work before the class begins. Check out Stefan G. Bucher. Check out Onmar Wynn, who we spoke to before. And check out Nina Johansson's work, because we're going to see a whole other side to Nina Johansson. Those of you who've taken a class with her in urban sketching or with exploring, you saw how brilliant she is as an urban sketcher, but now you're going to see how brilliant her imagination is and how incredible her ability to take stuff out of her head and put it on paper is, and how great that is, and also the way that she pushed it. So Marloes asks, are there the levels in the class? Can anybody join, or do you need experience in drawing? Well, I think that literally almost every Sketchbook Skool class is designed so that no matter what your level, you will get something out of it. And I think when it comes to drawing from the imagination, I think that, I think the native skills that we all have, that we've had as children, can come into play here. So this is not about having, a lot of skills with materials or skills with, how to draw likenesses from real life. It's really about getting what's in your head out on paper. And that's a skill that, we all sort of have, but we all struggle with. So I think no matter what your background, no matter what your level of experience, no matter how many classes you've taken in Sketchbook Skool, I think this is going to be a great class for you. It's going to open you up. It may open you up to do something besides drawing. I mean, I've been feeling like I've been doing animation. I've been making additional films since being exposed to this stuff. You might find yourself, writing a song, writing a play. It just is going to open you up to think about yourself as a creative person. What am I doing with my creativity? How am I going to go beyond just the phase of learning, and how am I going to actually do more stuff with it? Isn't there a lot of imagination that takes place even when you're doing observational drawing, Catherine asks. Absolutely, yes. Imagining is part of all forms of art, but a lot of times we feel like we need to develop skills, and we need to develop observational skills. We need to understand, how do I render a certain thing? How do I capture shadows? How do I add volume? Those are things that are less free-flowing. But I think, to me, the most exciting drawings are when you let your imagination run wild. Yes, you might be looking at a skyline of a city like I was earlier this morning, but then my feelings come out, my emotions come out, and I'm capturing as much about me as I am about the subject. And I think that that's partly the power of imagination. But imagine being able to sit down and draw a picture of a mythical city, one that you completely made up in your mind. Or you'll see with Nina Johansson, she gives herself these funny, interesting challenges and exercises. She does a drawing every single day to draw something from her imagination, and she'll just say, okay, I'm just going to challenge myself with a prompt and a piece of paper and a pen, and what's going to come out of that. So that's really intense imagination. That's sort of 95% imagination, as opposed to drawing from reality, which might have a smaller quotient. So that's my answer to that, Catherine. I hope that clarifies it. Good. Well, I think that I don't want to take up any more of your time, but thanks very much for joining me today. I'm going to go and see how Tim is doing and whether he's recovered. And sign up if you haven't. Check out the teachers' websites if you haven't. Clear your imagination if you haven't. And also, we're going to be telling you more about the classes. We're going to tell you more about maybe some of the materials that you might want to consider. Coach is going to talk about that. So there's a lot of things to think about, but also you could also not think about it. You could just plunge right in on Monday. Okay, I look forward to seeing you in class, and Thanks for joining me here today on Facebook Live. Bye-bye.